And we are live, Sue.
Okay, good afternoon. Welcome everybody to this September 27th meeting of the Oregon Early Learning Council. We're very excited to be in person, and a couple council members will be arriving a little bit late, but we will all be here. So, and Peg, we appreciate you being online from your work. Thanks for being there. So let's go ahead, Gabby, if you would call the roll, please.
Yeah. Dave Baden, OHA is excused, and Molly is here in his place, Molly Haynes. And then Andrea Bell, also excused. Angie Blackwell. Here. Katie Brooks, she will be late. Peter Buckley.
Here.
Alyssa Chatterjee will also be late. Ben Cannon, excused. Dr. Charlene Williams, excused. Ann Kubish is downstairs, so she will be here momentarily. Khalid Ladd will also be late. Peg Miller.
Here.
Sue Miller.
Is it Sue here? I wasn't sure if it was Sue or Sue.
Oh, sorry, Sue, yeah, and Subin.
Here.
And then Liesel is excused. So with that, we have a full quorum, Sue.
All right, thanks, Gabby. And did anyone sign up to testify?
We did not have anybody sign up to testify.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Gabby. Council, so exciting day. I have to say that one of the most exciting parts is that we have a hard copy of our new strategic plan in front of us. Yay, you're right, Susan. Amazing accomplishment. We've been working on this as a council for a year and had remarkable support from the DELF staff as well as our build consultants, Harriet and Carrie. So when we see them at our retreat, we can thank them profusely. But this is going to be the roadmap that we will be following, and our agency partners will be following with us. So very exciting to have it here. What we're going to start with today, as you know, council members, we have our annual retreat coming up. So the first time in 4 years that we'll actually be in person. And this time we will be in Bend, Oregon. Katie Brooks, who will be here when she's done testifying at the legislature, will be able to give us some more details about some of the local community engagement plans. But it's going to be a great day and a half in Bend. And what I'm hoping we can do today is really talk about what are our goals as a council for the retreat. What do we want to come away with? And we've certainly talked about some goals in prior council meetings, but now as I work with staff to really hammer out the final agenda and what's it look like, we need to be sure we're hitting the target of what council members want to see as a result. I would just lead off by saying, welcome, Ann. Hi, good to see you.
I'm sorry to be late.
You're early compared to some. So
I guess it's all relative,
it's
right?
very relative. Thanks for getting here.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you. So we're just getting started. First by saying yay.
Yay.
It's here.
It's incredible. It really is.
It is incredible. It'll be a great roadmap. Yes, it'll be a great roadmap. So, and what we're talking about in just beginning is what are the goals that we as a council have for the retreat in Bend that's about 4 weeks away. And in probably over the last year, it seems to me there are 4 topics, 4 priorities that the council has talked about a lot. So these may be priorities that we really want to focus on in Bend. They may not be the right ones, or you may have others that you think should also be included. But the 4 that I've heard most often, one is our relationship with the hubs, early learning hubs, and how are we going to support them, and how do they support us and support DELF and our agency partners. So hubs could be one priority focus. Another one we've talked about a lot is home visiting, and thanks to Peter and Peg for co-chairing our committee. Home visiting is really off and running, and I think we'll get an update from Peter sometime in this discussion, but it's very, very exciting. It's actually coming together, so very cool. A third one we've talked about a lot is social, emotional, or behavioral health. It intersects with DELF very directly with the whole suspension and expulsion prevention program, but it's bigger than that as well. So behavioral health would be a third. And then the fourth, which is probably quite elusive, but would be workforce. Every meeting, some issue around workforce comes up. There aren't enough qualified workers, or especially if we need culturally responsive programs. So workforce, and every one of our partner agencies has identified that as a huge issue. So those are the 4 priority topics that I've heard a lot from all of you and our other colleagues over the year. And what we're trying to do as we put the retreat agenda together is figure out what are the priorities and the topics that we really want to focus on, so that we can have staff pull together the resources we need to really do a deep dive with the, equity and family voice are sort of umbrellas that go over all of these. And then sort of the bottom end run is, what's the council's role in whatever the issue is. So I'll just sort of put that out there, hopefully as sort of a takeoff point for everyone, and let's go from there. We can talk about goals for the retreat besides setting priorities, and then what priorities do we want to really dig into. So, open for any comments.
I think we ended on goals, the 4 areas, priority for us. I wonder if we want to have a discussion about retreat, or some additional ideas during the 2025 legislative session. What's something we do for the workforce? What's something we propose for social media? Something, in terms of the hubs, be proactive on that.
And proactive, Peter, with an eye to the 2025 legislative session, which means we'll need some specificity in what we're saying about these issues. Yeah. How do others feel about the 4 and/or any of this? Yeah, Anne.
Well, I love the topics because, and I love keeping a focus on the hubs and home visiting, because the council has really invested in that. And so we need to just keep diving deep on that for sure. And I like the other 2, at the risk of making things more complicated. One of the things that really jumped out at me as I was reading through all of the materials for today's session was the RUO data dashboard and the effort that is being put into trying to figure out what data are we going to routinely collect and how are we going to track those over time. And the thing that is really, of course, hard and fascinating about these kinds of things is it's one thing to track implementation and sort of process indicators, number of kids served. And it's another thing to track what the effect is on how they're doing. And the reason this is on my mind is because I was just looking at the sample one here, which was participation in OPEC parenting education series. Now, that's great because there's sort of like how many kids or how many parents are participating. But we also know that there's a real investment at OSU in the Hallie Ford Center to actually do research on what effects that's having on parenting styles, parents' abilities, and trying to sort of keep some track of how that's affecting kids. And so it occurred to me as I was reading this that I would bet that there might be other places where there's good research that's being done that could help complement whatever it is that would go into a RUAC dashboard. That is, yes, we want to track how many parents are being served in this case, but are there other things, are there other studies going on that could complement it? And how do we start to make sure that we're taking advantage of everything that's being done in the state and bring that to bear on these sort of this tracking system and the dashboard and how we're doing that. So it occurred to me that it might be helpful to really dive into that, make sure that we see what indicators the staff are proposing and make sure that we think they make sense, and then say, oh, is there something more that is going on in this field in the state, or are there partnerships that we could create that would make that better? So that's sort of on my mind. I don't know if it's a possible retreat topic or whether it's just something that sort of hangs there, but and I apologize if I'm bringing up something that we're going to talk about anyway.
No,
Too early on.
it's perfect timing because in an hour or so, we're going to have staff here
Yeah,
to talk about the tracker and the dashboard.
yeah.
And so I think it's perfect timing to bring that up, Anne, and talk with Lizzie and Gabby, there she is, about how could we approach that and looking at what other research is being done. I'm sure there's a lot.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, you've been
No, go ahead.
I just, I agree with all four of those kind of broad areas that you mentioned. There are things that continue to bubble up to the surface. I am particularly interested, coming from front lines, I'm particularly interested in all the work around the suspension expulsion ban and supporting providers in helping them to meet the needs of those children in their programs that really has an impact on the other children in their classrooms, on staff as well. So I would really like to know like how that planning is coming along, how that system is coming along. The social, emotional, and behavioral health issues are really affecting staff, and we're talking about a workforce, challenge already as it is. But I see this. I see frustration bubbling up that if we don't have the support for staff to help them achieve this suspension expulsion ban, then they're just going to back out of the field altogether.
Do you see a lot of that, Angie, in your own work?
Sadly, I am seeing that. I recognized it as increasing even before the pandemic. And then of course, since the pandemic and coming back into classrooms, it's continuing to grow. And so if you have a workforce that's already under stress, and then we have some pretty challenging things happening, I'm very fortunate where I work that we are able to have a real high ratio of teachers to children. So I think that we're coping with it better than some might. But, the typical, classroom with 20 kids and 2 adults really isn't cutting it. So I think that that's just an area that I would like to hear more about. And I'm sure that the council and DELC have been talking a lot about this. Obviously, I've been away for the last 6 months at least. I don't even remember how long. So I'm sure there've been a lot of discussions around this topic that I'm not really up to speed on.
Well, and we haven't had an update. Well, we haven't met since June, so so you're not that far out of the circle here, Angie. But I think certainly getting an update on that is something we should be asking for.
Before we leave that topic too, is, I have no concerns that we're not doing enough, that the programs that Delk has, offering.
Really quick, if you could speak up just a little bit. That would be
Certainly.
awesome. Thank you.
The infant and early childhood mental health consultant model, I don't think it's going to be enough to help providers. I mean, in our area, it's going to be enough to basically hire maybe one full-time employee to be a consultant to all the providers in Jackson Joseph counties. That's not gonna change dynamics. I mean, it's gonna be nice to have somebody who go to and say, there's a crisis here, can you help us? We have hundreds of providers.
I'm really glad you used that word crisis, because I really do believe that that's what we're dealing with in many cases is a crisis. And our workforce needs that support.
So our hub did a survey of early childhood providers, and I think she had over 300 responses, and somewhere close to 60% of the responses said the employees said they were thinking about leaving the profession.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe because of the behaviors in the classroom.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's the number one reason why people leave.
What'd you say,
It's
Susan?
the number one reason why people leave the workforce are not in early childhood is not being able to manage or understand children's behaviors and how to deal with it. So, building on all the points, I like the 4 topic areas, but to Angie's point, I feel like there can be some specificity to each of those 4 areas. So in SEL behavioral, I think what we're talking about right now is the infant toddler mental health consultation, but actually maybe a little broader is the ban on suspension and expulsion. What's actually going to get it done? And so I feel like that's kind of how I feel about the 3rd topic area. With hub relations, I think there's so much in here that is contingent on what the hubs can and can't do. And so I feel like the purpose of that first topic area that you named is about making sure that they're well set up to be able to meet what's in here. Otherwise, everyone's going to feel like they're failing, they're not making progress, and it can quickly erode any faith in the plan. So I would want to go there. And then to Ann's point, I feel like on the data dashboard, I think you brought some specificity to something I was thinking, which is I feel like without even topic areas, there's so much in the plan that we just need to keep track of and keep our fingers on it. And what are those attention areas that need some love and care from us? And the data dashboard will help a lot with that. And I'm sure you know about this already, Anne, but the researcher roundtable might be a good place to start in terms of what are the research bases that are Oregon-based that can contribute to a data dashboard so that Delk doesn't have to do all of it on their own. Let's collectively impact and bring all those investments together. And then there's also at OSU, they have all the workforce registry data. That's stuff that also can get into the data dashboard. And so I think that is something that we can, as a council, I think something that we're really effective at is setting tables, like bringing people together and connecting people. And so the more and more we can do that, I think that could benefit the plan.
Yeah, really, these are all really excellent points. And you're right, the researchers roundtable is maybe a great partner, a great kind of beginning point to try to identify some of the others. And it gets into that long-term impact that is always politically so challenging. How we get your former colleagues, Peter, to say, I'm willing to look 10 years down the road, knowing that's when we'll start seeing some results. Maybe.
And there are places there are researchers who are taking that longer term perspective. We better make sure that we're like, benefiting from their research. So, because you're right, the politicians don't have patience for it, sorry. Present company excluded.
He's come on this side.
Yeah.
I was talking to my daughter last night, playing with the legislature, because, I'm on the public
It's just falling apart since you left.
Well, I tell you, the fact that they underfunded the regional programs to help kids with autism and hearing impaired, what are you thinking of? Why would you underfund that program? Because it's going to cost us so much more down the line.
Yeah.
So, and her response was, welcome to the general public, Dad.
Oh, well.
You can always run again, Peter.
We'd all support you.
Right. Oh, my goodness. So one of the thoughts that staff had in just preliminary conversations about the retreat is whether we would like our 6 agency partners to present a short synopsis of sort of what they're doing around workforce development. Just so we at least have that baseline of information from each of them. I'm not aware that the 6 of them are working together on workforce development plans. Maybe there's some of that going on, but especially with Ben Cannon now as a member of the council, he's on jury duty, which is why he's not here today. But it would really be a way for us to just sort of start getting more informed about what our partners do. Because you know the amazing part of this plan, when you really start digging into it and looking, you know, we've got the big goals and then pretty big objectives and then strategies, and then we've got dozens and dozens of actions under the strategies. And those are what our agency partners have put in this plan. We didn't make those up. So if you look at Appendix D in here, that's the short-term focus. So 2024. Those are the strategies that our partners are saying they want to pursue in the coming year. So I think as we tie into comments you all are making about, you know, let's see how specific we can get at the retreat. We may want to use some of the Appendix D short-term goals from our partners to help focus our work and our attention.
You, by making us flip through the pages, it helped me to remember. I felt like another big theme, I don't know if it's a 5th one or if it's kind of embedded here, is the idea of interagency coordination and making sure that all these different departments are working. And so I feel like that's an important, we can be the binding energy, the magnet that brings all the agencies, again, with the idea of one of our most powerful tools is community.
Yes. Yeah, excellent points, and it is. And we've been very fortunate that our agency partners, except during legislative sessions, when they're called for other priorities, have been very good about it.
Does Bill have experience in other states being able to evaluate what Stephen is talking about here, about sort of saying how can we demonstrate the power of an entity like the Early Learning Council that is really trying to break down silos and create interagency collaboration? I wonder if there are other states that do it, and I just wonder if there's, you know, the more that we can sort of accumulate evidence that this is actually sort of making the whole more than the sum of its parts, the more we sort of justify this kind of way of being the glue and the convener and so on. I wonder if Bill could help in that. They would have access to other states to do it.
Right. Yeah, you're right, and that's one of the incredible strengths that Bill brings with them.
Yeah.
They're connected to, I think, 10 states actively supporting 10 states.
I wonder if they're doing any multi-state kind of meta evaluation or something. It'd be interesting. Find out what they're doing with it all.
Right. Yeah, Gabby, we can flag that for Carrie and Harriet. Let's see.
I've heard Harriet say several times that what we're doing here in Oregon is kind of leading the pack in some ways. So that's pretty nice to have partners who are also leading the pack. If for nothing else, then it's therapy,
Yeah.
right?
Sometimes it's scary to.
Yeah, right, exactly. What, this is as good as it gets?
Yeah, well, Harriet has been clear in saying that she thinks this is the only early childhood system plan in the country that has this interagency collaboration built all through it. It's the foundation, beginning and the end of it. In fact, when we meet with the legislators in the morning, and I'm going to comment on the fact that we have a 51-page strategic plan, which is a little daunting. But one reason it's that long is because it's 6 agencies. It's not just one, right? And it's 5 years. So it's going to take a lot of work. Peg, do you have anything you want to throw into this? And Gabby, can you get rid of that?
I am trying. I actually don't know why that's
If
coming
you
in.
just click on got it, does it go away?
No, so that's actually connected to the camera, and I am unable to actually click on it. So I'm trying to troubleshoot it.
Okay, well-
And it will, you're fine.
Okay, well, we know you're there, Peg. Sorry, there's a
Peg
little.
should move either to the left or the right.
Right, yeah, that's true. If you go left or right, Peg, you'll be around.
There we go, we see you.
Either way works.
No, I would agree with the topics and what everyone has said. I think clearly we want to continue to support the home visiting and to realize, kind of make some plans as far as some legislative supports and to bring everybody up to speed on it. The social emotional thing, I can't agree more with what Angie said. That is, it's a huge thing. In preschool, I will say it's a huge thing with pediatricians, not just with young kids, but also with adolescents. I mean, if you look at the data, it's a huge issue that I think many of us were never trained to confront, in our training programs. So I think examining that and looking at some good data, the social emotional metrics and so forth that the hubs or excuse me, the CCOs are going to have before them. I think that's going to be an important thing to kind of look at. And how can we really measure the effects of that? Because that isn't something that is going to make a change in months. It's going to be a change in years. And it's not really, well, we need to work with the kids. This is really a family issue. And I think we need to make sure that the efforts are being put towards families. The workforce thing is, I mean, we've talked about that forever. And I think Angie and Subin both touched on it, that's the reason that people are leaving this field. And we have to figure out a way to support them in a way that helps them feel like they have resources.
You know, an interesting connector here, this in, an hour and a half, Jessica Vega Peterson will be here to give us an update on Preschool for All. And as I was reading through the materials she sent, they have a very specific part in there that is trying to provide support for the providers. And so we might try to really get a better understanding from her of what they're doing and how it's going. And I look at Preschool for All hopefully as kind of a pilot of what can we all learn about preschool for the state.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I agree with you. What jumped out at me is how they really are thinking about it as a system intervention. It's not, I mean, they say very clearly in it, it's not just about more slides. And so thinking holistically about that issue and others, it's really impressive.
I've met with a number of the Preschool for All coaches that are already kind of in people's programs and visiting them, and the way that they structure their own professional development as coaches and mentors to programs and how they are deployed. I think that there's a lot that we can learn, especially given what Elsie is trying to do and what we are saying we need to do for Preschool Promise. I think there's a lot we can learn from Preschool for All.
Can you say a little bit more about that, Subin?
Yeah, so I'm sure Jessica will know more than I do, but they seem to have really strong leadership where the coaches are getting together and they have regular convenings and discussions around their practice. I feel like coaching is a field where it's hard, for example, to get a pre-service degree in coaching classrooms and being a mentor to other teachers. So and usually what happens is people are really good teachers and they run professional development. And so now there's this new scope of work that people are learning. So they have something good going on there that supports them to be successful in programs. And then the kind of support that they provide to programs can run the gamut. It can be, how do you design a classroom space that's interesting and engaging? It could be about how do you support family engagement, or it could be about social and emotional development and cultural responsiveness. I think there's a lot in Preschool for All that we can learn around anti-racism and anti-bias. So so to have that broad of a skill set that you're providing to programs is something that talk about de-siloing, right? Like that's something I see in those Preschool for All coaches. But that's only one component of the whole system, as Anne said. Like there's many aspects of Preschool for All that I don't know very much about.
Right.
Yeah, our Preschool Promise program also has the coaching component through collaboration with the Child Care Resources Referral. And coaching has been required as part of the Head Start standards for about 5 or 6 years now. I don't know exactly how many, but it is a really important tool and a way of supporting the staff, the teachers, and it does cover so much. All the things Subin said, as well as just how teachers collaborate with one another to run their classroom. There's just a lot to it, and it is something that I think that teachers find very supportive.
I've also seen it go not well, right? Where people are required to meet with a coach or a trainer or something like that, and teachers are not happy to be there. They're going through the motions. It's a checkbox for them, and so I've seen that,
right.
And I think that's actually, talk about a waste.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And is that because the coaching isn't valuable, or isn't focused on what the teachers are?
Both of those things, and I would say that the coaching model, which is what I think the infant toddler mental health consultation, where they spent a lot of their time was figuring out what is the model of consultation, I think is key. How do you decide to structure the experiences? any good, I mean, teaching preschool partners is what we do. Any good coaching, mentoring relationship starts with trust building. And sometimes that trust building takes months, maybe years. In the Young Kala story, it took years. And so I think that any coaching model that doesn't start with that, for example, then it's not likely to yield successful results. And so those are the kinds of things that I think when we talk about a data dashboard, we want to be mindful of, okay, engagements happened, but what was the nature of those? What was the quality and what did people get out of that experience? Yeah.
So, Peter, down in your world, what is happening with some of the support for your preschool teachers?
We have one of our mental health providers, Kairos, has been pretty proactive in getting skills trainers into K-12. So we can get skills trainers in early childhood. So the pilot project, Head Start, and it worked wonderfully. The skills trainer working for Head Start classrooms, staff was delighted. And after 6 months, they had a good relationship based on trust. And now they've designed a model to try to basically say, can the skills trainer train staff members that basically have the same skills as the skills trainer? So that's one small thing that's happening. We also did a pilot project where there's a group of life coaches. This is come here. We're going back to the coaching idea. You don't need a license to be a life coach anymore. So you can see if you Google life coach, you get all these people. I'll be your life coach.
My mom will do it.
Exactly.
She already tried some.
Years ago. But there's a group called Empower in Jackson County that they're very skilled. People DHS contracted with them to basically be life coaches for families who are struggling. And so we did a pilot with them as well to put life coaches at 6 different early childhood providers. It's the whole idea that Sue's talking about. And maybe this issue we could go deeper into. What is the coaching? Part of this system. Maybe we heard what Jessica Biggett said. What is the system? Where do these coaches come from? How are they trained? And what is the approach? What is our consistent approach? Because we know it can make a huge difference. My concern is, where are these people? Are these former teachers? Are these people that were taken out of the classroom to be a coach?
So, I mean, we're working on that because we recently we put out a job post and we're like, and we were working with an HR company and they said, okay, can you think of comparable job descriptions? I said, no. This is a unique situation. This is a new, I think, kind of thing that we're asking people to do. There's bits and pieces from different job descriptions we can put together, but where are these people? I think it's, and how do you scale that? How do you scale that whole idea?
Well, part of the effort with Kairos is promising in that they've developed this curriculum to basically train classroom teachers how to develop the abilities to be skills trainers, because they're the ones working with all the kids. And so that is somewhat scalable. The cost was not too prohibitive either to basically say, here's 10 classroom teachers from Head Start, we'll work with a skills trainer over the course of a year, and it's cost $80,000 to train 10 people.
And then they still remain in the classroom,
They still remain in the classroom.
but they have that
But yeah,
additional.
yeah. So basically, one reason we're losing, the reason we're losing people is because they don't feel like they can deal with kids. They don't feel the behavior issues. So we give them skills to deal with behavior issues. They're going to feel better about it. Right? And the injured less often too. That came up in the survey. The number of people that have been injured in the classroom has increased.
Wow.
So in that model, are you saying that teachers in the school are trained to be able to do this work so they can train, so they can do it themselves and they can also be mentors to their
That's
peers?
the idea.
So rather than sort of start a whole new workforce development, let's take those who are there and give them some skills, and they already have presumably the trust and the relationship with their peers in the school, so that you could have a little head start on it. I see, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is. I wonder, I mean, now I'm really curious about where, Delk's work is as far as the suspension expulsion prevention program, because this is, I think, a part of the model that they're working with.
Yeah, I think the last time we heard was from John Reeves, and we heard about the infant toddler mental, and I think we shared some kind of concerns about where they were in the process, and in particular, we had received some testimony on that very day about kind of getting to the implementation plan part of it. So I think Portland State, I implied to be part of that group, and I think it's in Delk's hands right now in terms of choosing the committee for the supporting the implementation plan. And so that's what I've heard in terms of the infant toddler mental health consultation. But to your other point, I've always felt this. I don't know if that's enough to meet what the law is saying. We're going to do. We're going to ban suspension and expulsion. It'll help. It's an important component, a needed component, but there's a lot more.
So our hub did a great job of getting people together as soon as the request for proposals came out. Getting everybody together from their childhood world and the behavioral health world to say, how are we going to approach this as a region? Who's going to apply for this funding? And it turns out our family nurturing center, our Relief Nursery, was the one that stepped up and said, well, we'll apply for the funding. They're not behavioral health specialists. They're the childhood specialists, but they felt that they had the capacity to stand up and say, well, we'll take a lead on this. I'm not trying to develop for a region, but the RFP was not, it didn't have a lot of information to it, like how this is going to work. Yeah. So basically it's kind of like, okay, Southern Oregon, how's it going to work for you guys? Which I like. I do like the fact that they're not being over descriptive of it, but it's also some kind of framework to it that at least wasn't clear.
Yeah, I think I've heard other comments about that RFP and just whether, oh, Katie, hi.
Hello.
Welcome back. How'd it go?
Good. They're really chatty. And I love 3 minutes of, that's all you usually get. Well, yeah, we were up there like good 10 minutes or more. It was good.
Katie was just testifying before the House Early Childhood Committee.
Yep.
And guess what she was talking about?
Workforce though.
Yeah.
For you. Yeah, thanks for doing that. Part of the business.
My pleasure.
Oh, please do. So we are just talking about the retreat that's going to be in your front yard.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we're talking about priorities and topics to include and sort of the deep dive part of the retreat. So maybe we'll continue this a little bit, and then I want to have you talk a little bit about the community outreach piece.
Okay.
Sure, that's a good question, because you alluded to something that you said to us. Do we know yet what the calendar is for your appointments? Because if there were new people, you said it'd be orientation. Do you have any update on that you can check out with me?
We're still hoping for early October to have new appointments. I was just touching base with the governor's office yesterday. The overwhelming number of applicants. I think they're, Gabby, 25 or 30?
Yeah, I think last time I checked, there was about 26, 27. Yeah, pretty close to 30.
Yeah.
Oh.
And how many prompted all the interest?
Yeah, and we're looking to fill 5 positions. So it's for, I believe, congressional districts 1, 3, and 4, and then 2 at-large members.
Right. So, got some big shoes to fill with these new 5 people. Obviously, we have Anne and Kelly going off at the end of the year, probably. Their positions, well, Anne's moving and Kelly's been on for a life sentence, so she's now rotating off. And then George Mendoza, of course, had to resign and made it take on the position. So yes, we'll have 5 new people to work with in the coming year. Very exciting. And it's a good question, Anne, because as we try to do this retreat planning, we're trying to figure out, you know, are we gonna have 5 new people plus 6 of us, and what's that do to the schedule? And when I was talking to the governor's office yesterday, I said, you know, the sooner they can be appointed, the better, because then we can do some orienting before the retreat, which would be ideal. Katie, I just laid out the 4 priorities that we've talked about as a council for at least a year, if not longer. The hubs, to strengthen them, home visiting system development that Peter and Peg are leading, social, emotional, behavioral health, and then workforce. And saying, are there others we want to add? We've been doing a lot of talking about the behavioral health and what to use Angela's word, crisis it is in classrooms.
Yeah, I've heard you say.
Right. And childcare as well as schools. So, you know, what's our role? Let's find out what others are doing. And we obviously, a really high priority for us is to get an update on the work that Delk's doing with suspension, expulsion. So when Alyssa gets that, we can hopefully have her give us at least an overview of that. The other thing we've talked about, Katie, quite a bit is, you know, the dashboard idea, tracking outcomes, which you certainly talked about historically.
Yep.
So we've got a presentation on that coming up in shortly in this meeting, and so that'll be a great opportunity to talk with these staff people, including Gabby. Are you warning Lizzie?
Yes, or I'm just letting her know, and she's on track to join once we get to that point, but yeah, she does. She is aware of that.
Okay, yeah, good. Yes, and we're excited with Jessica Vega Peterson coming to talk about baseball for all at 3 o'clock.
Oh, that's
it'll
great.
Give us a great opportunity to learn from her. Other comments,
Well, I think the most important thing about this retreat is that the Chamber of Commerce is hosting, because we have lots of beer and wine.
Yay.
And we don't have to worry about the state. We don't have to worry about anything like that. So for the reception, we've invited quite a few people. We're getting good RSVPs.
Oh,
We're going to have
really?
elected officials. We'll have school district representatives, NISBE representatives, childcare and family health leadership in the community, the Central Oregon Health Council. Lots of folks will be there. So we'll have it here. It'll be a nice opportunity to talk about Raise Up Warrior and meet some of the people who are in the Shakers.
Thank you so much for pulling that together. So let's talk about that reception and sort of what, you know, Katie's going to lead it off, and, you know, BBMC or facilitate or whatever. So we'll have these wonderful plans to hand out, but I'm just wondering what's sort of our goal or our takeaway from meeting with a whole bunch of community leaders from Central Oregon. And it's a very impressive invitation list that Katie
goal to continue? To me, I think the folks that are coming, I've worked with them for so long on specifically childcare issues, and a lot of them are much more deep into community health and assisting families in need and all of these other things that intersect with our work, part of our work. I think what will be really great is just to go over some of the high points of what Raise Up Oregon is. So I think the best case scenario is they walk away understanding there's a thoughtful plan, an infrastructure that's out there that they can tap into and connect with. Because I think they're doing good work in a lot of the areas that we talk about. And to create more back and forth connectivity in case they have an idea or have need for expertise or want to clarify some goals or whatever it is that they need to do. So make this plan super accessible to the folks who are actually on the road. That would be great.
So this is a reception, but should we have sort of planned discussion groups? At least for some period of it, or is that too structured?
I think that's a bit structured with I think I just wanted, what we had in mind was just an introduction. Everybody can, it would be great if ELC members introduce yourself, go around the room, talk about what the highlights are of this plan, just so there's some recognition there. We have a jam-packed day on the 24th planned with many of these folks who are actually the doers of the work, to talk about some of the ARPA implementation and just the programs that have gone into place in Central Oregon, the cohorts that have been working together. We'll be talking about OSU Cascades will be there to talk about the new Little Kids program that was done with ARPA. We have a panel on co-located housing and childcare with the two developers that I've been working with in town to tell you how they got to where they're at right now, and lots of really good experiences working with Alyssa, by the way. And what else? So, Gabby, what else? So and the night before, the meetings with the families and the hubs.
So what time do you think to start on the 23rd? Is that the reception night, or is it?
That is the night we are in. Where did we land on?
It
The
is,
relief nursery at
Right.
Mountain Star.
That's right, Mount Star Relief Nursery. That's in.
That's for the family dinner.
So that happens night one, for those of you who make it.
And is it, do we know if it's 5 or 5:30, Gabby?
I don't think we've determined the start time just yet, so I'm holding sometime between 5:30 to 6, just to kind of give families that time to make it to that location in case they're getting off work at 5.
But it won't be any earlier than 5:30?
No.
Perfect. Okay, so 5:30 at Mountain Star with hopefully, I don't know, 10 or 15 family members. And they're gonna provide childcare for their kids, so parents can come.
Brenda's on point with that. The hub is taking point with that to get their advisory group, their families together. And I think that you've been working with her on the food and stuff.
Yeah, and we just got that taken care of.
Great.
Yes, we want to thank the Oregon Community Foundation for paying for that dinner.
Thanks, Bert.
So I think the concept there is there'll be round tables that seat 8 or so some family members and staff whom they know, and then some of us sprinkled in. So we can chat.
I think that'd be really good.
As I'm so excited about all the things that you just said, and I feel like in terms of like how does it help or benefit or what are some outcomes, I feel like for me personally it's a good check in terms of, hey, did we describe the activities that make sense to people? Are these the kinds of things that we think will contribute to more progress? What are things that we might have missed that we didn't hit the mark? I think the other thing that I think of is, it sounds very sleazy, but I don't know, I'm not coming from that place. I think there's the potential for an event like this to give visibility to other communities around, okay, so here we have all these different great, wonderful examples of how the plan is coming alive or how people are working on things. And if there's some sort of communications effort that kind of comes with it, it doesn't have to be about us, it could be about the community. But kind of highlighting ways that Bend is working on, or Central Oregon is working on the plan. I think that could.
Or just the plan too. I didn't ask that. That's a really good point. And I wonder if, do you want the media there? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, even if it's like I know CI has communications. I don't know what Delk's communications capacities are, or I feel like I'm also making comments about something I don't really understand very well. I don't know what it means to invite the media. It's like, is there going to be paparazzi there?
Well, I wouldn't want to do anything to intimidate the families.
That's the other thing.
That would be for that
You're
part, for
talking
the,
about the family, not the.
No, well, the other things that you were saying too about who we were going to hear from. Yeah. Oh, so that's just at the okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, it's an out there idea. I just kind of wanted to throw that out.
yeah. Well, and tied into that, I was in a meeting earlier this week with staff, and the new communications manager here at Delk is putting together a press release for Race Up Oregon that will probably go out next week.
Great.
So that certainly ties into what you're saying.
I saw in that report from Alyssa, that that's a position that's been filled, right?
Yes,
Yeah, very exciting.
very exciting. I think Kate's been on, a week and a half now, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And she was the former communications director at Oregon Housing and Community Services.
Oh, good. Steal from another.
Yes.
Favorite of that.
She came on just in time to start talking about ERDC.
Oh, welcome to the team.
Exactly. Wow, I mean, everything. Wow. Yes, so family dinners. So then on Tuesday, I think
That's the program,
like
in the morning.
3 different programs. And we'll start Tuesday morning hearing from Brenda Comini, the hub director, who can give us a sense of what's the hub doing in Central Oregon. Very informative. Yes, very, very connected. And then we'll have housing and have childcare, early learning programs.
I have a question for Angie, I think that would agree too. So when we put out that invitation list, we did mostly Bend and Deschutes County. It's pretty flex to make. Thinking of the tribes, and I'm thinking, do we want to reach out to Crook County? They honestly will likely not come, and I don't know how big we want to get this in our little conference room, but I also don't want to just leave that out there and not ask the question.
I think it would be great to extend an offer to the Warm Springs, who are right there located centrally. I think that would be great. And I was gonna say we could talk to Valeria, but Valeria won't be the right person, but maybe somebody is probably me.
Sorry, Angie.
Don't do that. I will get you some contact information so you can send an invitation. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who to send it to right off.
It just occurred to me as I was saying this, wow, it's.
Sure.
Well, we're in Bend, but it would be nice to have some folks.
Sure. I'll make myself a note right now so I don't forget.
Is that okay that I just did that?
Yeah, oh, sure, of course. We're on your turf, Katie, so anything will go.
Thanks so much for all that work.
Really.
Katie spent a lot of time on this.
So all day Tuesday are these sessions, and then Wednesday we continue to do.
Tuesday morning are the sessions, and then we start our retreat, Raise Up Oregon planning at noon.
And then that goes until,
That goes till 5, and the reception.
And the reception. And then we're going to dinner together if anybody has a mind to.
Right. Well,
Because it's Bend and there's always something to do.
great restaurants in Bend, right? So then we'll just have an informal dinner for council members. Whoever he wants to include. And then Wednesday morning, we'll start again at 8 and to continue to focus on priorities. And one of the things we have to figure out, and staff, Gabby sent me a draft agenda yesterday that I kind of made a lot of changes to. So we'll see how staff responds to that. But figuring out when do we want to ask our agency director partners to join us, and I'm sure they'll join virtually except for Alyssa and Dawn. So Wednesday, at what point will we want to talk with them and get their input on private? But hopefully many of the RUIAC members will be with us.
Yeah, they will. We've had a pretty good turnout in terms of folks that will be attending in person. Actually, a couple of them are online. I know we're having technical difficulties for everybody who's online. So the council can't see who's actually in the Zoom room right now, but we have Bill Bainey from ODHS, Remy from OHA, you guys saw Peg, Molly Haynes from OHA is here, and Dave Baden, and Gwen is also a RUIAC member, is also on right now.
Okay, great. Welcome you all. We'd love your input at some point on this whole conversation. Okay. So any other input for the retreat? So one goal obviously is priority setting. Second goal is to meet lots of people, leaders and families and community members in Central Oregon.
Maybe we can go to Ashland next year.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds good.
Oh,
That's good. That's big fun places to go.
yes. Oh, that would be awesome. It's a great state to visit. So is there, any other?
and what time will we be done on Wednesday? Does it go till 5?
1,
1.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just go.
Sue, do you want to open it up to input from the folks
Oh, sure.
online? Remy has her hand up.
Remy, I know Remy. Remy.
Of course I have my hand up, Sue.
Remy got a haircut.
Well,
Hi.
hi.
Hello, everyone. I'm so looking forward to seeing you at the Early Learning Council retreat and updating you with all the goings-ons at the Oregon Health Authority around early childhood system building. Obviously, my colleague Molly Hayes is here. Kate just jumped off a couple of minutes ago, and I jumped on, so we were replacing each other. But really excited to give you some updates from OHA. But as far as the retreat, I was wondering, and Sue, this is a little bit more narrow than the goals that you were talking about, but I was just thinking about like what we do know from community when we received all of that engagement during the Raise Up Oregon investigation period, and how communities don't really necessarily want to have like government employees come into their homes and offer them home visiting services or offer them connections to supports. They, like a lot of families, feel uncomfortable with that kind of thing. And something that's been going on in my work that I'm really interested in investigating that I think would be really useful to my RUAC colleagues is like, how do community partners that we want to have these conversations with, how do they have the most success in connecting with families on the ground, like in terms of enrolling in services and getting them hooked up into different offerings that we have from our government agencies. Because we know that we're not necessarily the right communicators, but we don't know how families want to be interacted with, and community partners are going to have those kinds of answers, I think. So it'd be really awesome if we could get some information around that during the community engagement report portion of this retreat. Thanks, Sue.
Okay, thank you, Remy. And we're excited to see the plan in writing.
Looks great. The cover looks amazing.
It is. The inside is pretty good too. So thanks for all your work in getting this document put together, Remy. Okay, anyone else online who wants to offer any input?
Hi, this is Gwen. Can you hear me okay? Hi. The one thing that I had just a question on, and I was just taking notes to make sure that we're prepared as members of the Raise Up Oregon Agency implementation team, is Anne had mentioned around data collection over time, and the difference sort of between sort of that quantitative approach to like how many families or children receive these services, and then also like the impact. And so I just wasn't sure, maybe Gabby, this is a question for you, as our group has done some work on kind of developing some systems to report back to the council on progress towards Raise Up Oregon 2.0. And so I was wondering if the retreat is an opportunity to get feedback from the council on that, to make sure that we're kind of hitting the mark as we embark on this, or if that's for a different conversation at another time.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
If somebody's already done the hard thinking for us, we're happy to invite you to share with us.
Yeah, and that's next on the agenda, is just like a quick overview of what the plan is. But if, because it's just going to be, it is just going to be like a quick, like, hey, here's what we're thinking. But if it makes sense to have more time for you all to provide more feedback and make sure that that aligns well with what you're wanting, I'm happy to add that to the retreat or future agenda items. Yeah, because we still have plenty of time to adapt that.
right. Yeah, Gwen, that would be great. And when RUYAC meets, are you meeting Friday?
Yes.
Or sometime Friday? Yeah. Just to get all of your colleagues' input on, what would be the best way to try to answer the question that Anne and the council is raising. What are the agency partners already doing around this? Because this can't be an original question.
Yeah.
So I look at the retreat as a really wonderful opportunity to learn from our 6 agency partners what they're doing in these different venues.
Because that's the thing, we certainly don't want to reinvent any wheels. In fact, if there are things going on that we can sort of integrate into this sort of dashboard and progress tracker, that would be the best. And I suspect there probably are, and you're suggesting that there are, Gwen, things that you all are already doing. So that would be just great to almost do an inventory of what else is happening and see if we can integrate it into what we're looking for. Yeah, great.
Does that answer your query, Gwen?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that, Anna. I think maybe on Friday we can regroup as a team. I want to make sure that we're hitting the mark when we're at the retreat there, because that seemed like a bigger, but I think, so just want to make sure that we're prepared for that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all that you're doing, Gwen. Wearing many hats. Many hats. Well, David Mandel, you've got a name plaque up here, David. You don't get to be in the audience.
Although I'll be leaving early for a return to the Capitol. So.
See, short timer.
Well, I was put on a sale in my dress.
Yeah, I know.
I don't see him in a tie.
No, I don't see myself in a tie very often. So.
Oh dear. Okay, anybody else online or anything else to end to? Okay, you're good. All right. Well, we now have about a 4-day retreat planned.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
That's why I came right at the right time.
You did, you did. No, it's gonna be good. Other goals for the retreat, other than really getting more information on some of these priorities? Other things you want to walk out with in order to feel that it was a good investment of your time?
Might be stating the obvious, but if there are going to be potentially 5 new members at the retreat, I hope there's some time to get to know each other and meet them.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, we're pretty scheduled from 8 in the morning till 7 at night, so that dinner on Tuesday night might be really important for socializing.
We could do like a midnight float on the river.
Yeah. Well, nothing helps bonding like beer and wine, right? That'll help bond.
I'm even gonna, because I have the beer in the closet right now, it's like, here, 2 years old, so get new beer, no old beer.
Even if it comes, just make sure you can hear these stories. You know, which is sort of why did you want to be in the council? What is it about? Reach out. But those kids.
Yeah, we'll build that into, probably, it'll have to be Tuesday at noon, that's when kind of the official council retreat starts, because the morning will be with Katie's panels.
Yeah, and Gabby, you and I should sit down and talk about venue and number of people, and just logistical stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jenna's been really helpful too. So I know that we've been touching base with tribal members and stuff. But yeah, definitely. Great.
Okay. Yes, I agree. Just getting to know one another and socializing is certainly part of in-person. Okay, anything else? We about 10 minutes ahead of schedule. I don't know. Yeah, we want to take a break.
We can take a quick break because then that'll help me troubleshoot that really quick. So we'll do that.
Okay, and if Lizzie can jump on at 2:30, that'd be great.
Absolutely, I will.
Thanks.
Gabby, do we need a card to be able to get in and out of the main door to those bathrooms?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
But
We have to go out and then knock on it to come back in.
Okay. I know.